Today on Think Like a Leader, we're going to talk about campus ministry, particularly church-based campus ministry. I've had the privilege this morning of spending several hours with Pastor Tom Breckwalt talking about how he does campus ministry, how he got in campus ministry, but especially we've been talking about a book that he's in the process of writing, and we've been writing on the whiteboard, we've been going through ideas and really sort of dissecting what went into what has become the campus ministry at Lake Mary Church in Orlando, Florida, here in the United States. And I've been provoked and inspired, and about halfway through our conversation this morning, while writing chapter outlines on the board, I said, Tom, why don't we shoot a video? Come sit down in the studio. Let's talk about this, because I think some of the things we're talking about regarding campus ministry and how to multiply campus ministry to the next level, I think this could help people all over the world. And really, when we say campus ministry and talking to Tom, we're talking about in America what we would call middle school, high school, and university, and how those ministries are all connected and all grow into one another. They get reached with the gospel in middle school and start growing in high school, and then by the time they get to university, they're leading discipleship groups back among the middle schoolers and high schoolers and among the other university students. So, Tom, great to have you here. It's been really encouraging talking about not just your book, that we're saying it now, so you have to finish this. But talking about the ideas and the testimonies and all God has done. So glad to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Pastor Steve. It's an honor to be here and just learning wisdom from you.
And if you can't tell, Tom ministers in Florida, and it's summertime, and it's required by law, I think, to wear shorts. Actually, it's required by logic to wear shorts in Florida. So,
yes, sir.
Tell me about the shirt. Lake Mary football. You're kind of old to be on a high school football 2024 state championship.
Yeah, I've actually been the character coach for the past 11 years with the program and have served in multiple capacities. And now the team I get to lead all the motivational meetings, all the Bible studies and all of that we do. And we made it for the first time in history to the state championship. So we got our butts kicked, but we're going back this year.
Okay. And talk about the ministry on that high school. So I remember some of the stories about these young people.
So that's the very first campus that we were on out of the 24 that we're on now. And it started with me just serving.
Wait, is that the place where the church started?
That's where the church started.
Okay, where David Houston and I pleaded with Shaddy to get a smaller venue. And it seats 900?
850.
850. Yeah. And I think we had maybe 20 people. And I preached in a cavernous, empty, on the Lake Mary campus.
That's where I started attending.
Okay,
and
wow.
It was looked like there were 5 people in there when you walked in.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so what happened?
Yeah, so that's where we started. I started with the football team. The coach gave me 10 minutes to be with the team and made me leave right away. He wasn't much of a believer. And that first year I was with the team, they had an undefeated season for the first time in the history of the program. So then the next year I was invited to come back. I was given about 15 minutes and another undefeated season. And then they made me the kicking coach of the team.
Kicking coach?
Yes, never kicked a football in my life, nothing. But they were very mentally strong kickers for that year. And now, after years of being with the team, I serve in a major capacity with that football program and the cheerleading team, the softball team, and the baseball team.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And so this has been going on for years. So some of the people you've won to the Lord, discipled at Lake Mary High School are in university now.
Oh, absolutely. Many of them. Some are even playing football at the next level, which has now given me an in at the University of Central Florida as well.
Thomas, we're talking about the book the Lord put on your heart. Several of those chapters are basic things about doing ministry, faith, and discipleship and evangelism, and really important topics, but some of those were quite intriguing for me. So one of them you talked about, it's building a ministry on Jesus, not on yourself. Break that down for me and for everyone watching this.
So a lot of times when we are doing ministry, the ministry is built around us. It's built around our gifting, our talents, what we like. And we'll attract the people that are like us, but we generally won't attract the people that are different than us. So one of the biggest things that I realized in the beginning of our ministry is I'm an athlete. I love sports. So we played dodgeball every single time we had ministry.
I imagine some people got hurt doing
that.
They
did. All the people that don't like playing sports. So we didn't really have a lot of people that were different than the athletes.
Okay.
It took a student that thankfully came and told me one day they don't come because they're tired of being hit by dodgeballs for us to make some change.
Hang on, for our international audience, explain dodgeball for a minute. I'm not sure everybody gets that sport.
Yeah, so
sport. Is it even a sport?
No, but dodgeball is a softball. You have about 15 of them, and you just peg each other until everybody's eliminated. So that's kind of the way the game goes.
Okay.
Very simple.
All right. I don't know if you remember Memphis Jones. You probably didn't know Memphis.
I don't.
Worship leader in Memphis.
Okay.
And I remember a dodgeball game here in Nashville with a cluster, a bunch of pastors and leaders. And Memphis is a professional musician.
Okay.
He makes his living on stage singing. He's incredible. And he also leads worship on Sundays. And Rob Johnson, you know Rob, nobody has ever thrown a dodgeball as hard as Rob. And Rob hit Memphis in the face, knocked him down. And I was coming from my office. I wasn't involved in this. And he sat down and I said, Memphis, are you done? He said, I'm done for the day. I'll never play this game again. I said, why? He goes, look at this. He goes, I make my living with this face. He said, I can't jeopardize it. So that was Memphis' experience with dodgeball.
That is why a lot of people didn't come to our ministry. So being more diverse in activities and people attracted more people.
Okay.
But then the other side, Pastor Steve, with building a ministry on Jesus and not on you, is a lot of student leaders come and go in student ministry.
Yeah.
And, people follow people before they follow Jesus. They're influenced by people. And I think when you look at Paul, he said, be an imitator of me as I am of Christ. That's great that they follow us, but if we're not constantly directing them to Jesus and we're directing them to us, there comes a time where we can't play that capacity or that role in their life that they were expected. And since it was built on them and not built on Jesus, most people don't continue to grow in their faith.
Yeah, and building, I don't think anybody in ministry sets out to build on themselves. We all theologically, philosophically, and really in our hearts, we want to build on Jesus. But I think sometimes listening to you earlier this morning, I realized sometimes we build on our own likes, our own desires, our own proclivities, our own, whether it's even our own theological leanings or like that with sports. And so I just think what we're talking about, I can't wait to see the final product of that chapter in writing. I think it's going to help a lot of people. There was another thing we talked about that was sort of the heart of your story, which was seeing campus ministry. And again, when you say campus ministry, you're talking about middle school, which is what age here in the States?
Middle school is 12 to 14, 15.
Okay,
Yep.
So middle school, 12 to 14, then high school up until
15
about
to 18.
Yes, 15 to 18, and then university, which is 18 to 35.
Yeah, nowadays.
People are stretching that out. And the idea we were talking about was see this as a calling, not a stepping stone. Break that down, and what is the difference in seeing campus ministry, student ministry, whichever age group you're called to, but just even the idea in general, because whether it's with this or something else, but calling versus stepping stones.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you hear what's next when you're a campus minister in whatever capacity is, what are you going to do next? When are you going to plant the church? When are you going to, and I think
Okay, so how often do you hear when are you going to plant a church?
All the time.
Okay.
As I get older, all the time.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's got to be a calling, because students can see a calling. Students know a calling, and you're committed to a calling. I don't think student ministry is a stepping stone into anything. I think it's one of the greatest ministries you can walk into. Sometimes people will be called to different seasons of their life, but I don't think that should be the mindset. Another thing with knowing that it's a calling, not a stepping stone, is just the transition of student ministry. And once again, students are so used of adults, unfortunately, leaving them a lot in their lives, that when your youth pastor is only there for 2 years or only there for 3 years, they associate that once again with, this is someone I trust. This is someone that, poured into me, and now they're gone. And then they have to trust somebody else brand new. So I just think the world needs more people that are committed to the calling versus thinking this is just to get to the next
Yeah,
level.
and how old were you when you started doing vocational campus ministry?
I was 31 years old.
And see, some people think that's already too old.
Yeah.
30, and when we talk about campus ministry, it was Lake Mary High School.
Correct.
It was high school and middle school because at that time, Lake Mary wasn't focused on a university yet. There were high schools, and then I think you followed some of those graduates.
That's how it
And so
happened.
at 31, some people have already transitioned out. You've been doing it 11 years?
45 now, so
Okay,
13 years.
13 years.
Yes.
And you're still not aging out.
No.
Now, I do know some people who have started shaving their beard so there's no gray hair anymore when they get a little older. But I really appreciate that. And there are some people who went into it as a calling and the Lord called them. Like for me, I went into campus ministry at Mississippi State University. I thought I would do that for life. It was, no doubt it was a calling. That was crystal clear. But after a few years, I went on a mission trip to the Philippines and felt called. So I wasn't a campus missionary any longer at Mississippi State. I was a church planter in a cross-cultural mission. But guess where we planted the church? In the University Belt. And so suddenly our campus ministry was a church and our church was a campus ministry. And so I think that calling to next generation leaders followed me, even though the outlet really became more of a church planting. But then again, others do leave that in pursuit of a call, but what you're after or pushing back against is the idea of I'm here temporarily waiting for this next opportunity.
100%.
And we see that too much around the church world where there's not a real commitment to that. I've been privileged to have the same kind of people with the mentality you have about a calling, not a stepping stone, even in kids ministry. In our church in the Philippines. I had veterans who never wanted to leave kids ministry, who some of them are still in it, others because I and others have pushed them, no, reconsider your calling because I think you're a senior pastor, disguised as a kids minister. And then they become senior pastors and do great kids ministries. But I think it's across the board where whatever God puts us in, that calling is what we pursue, not opportunities. Yeah. Any other thought on that, on the idea of calling?
I fully agree. I don't think a calling is a set of years. I think it's a heart posture. And I think so if the Lord calls you to a different season, he of course calls you, but I think the heart posture should be that this is what I'm called to do for the rest of my life until it isn't. And then like you said, you'll still take it with you. Those children's ministry people probably have a great children's ministry
they do, absolutely.
in their church that they senior pastor.
Tom, when we were talking earlier about empowering, the idea of empowering students, you came up with a phrase that you talk about a lot, I'm sure you're going to write about, of student-led, not student-told. And now, I've talked about student-led, but the idea of student-told, that was an interesting one as you started unpacking it. And we were talking in the context of, okay, you can have a successful or fruitful, maybe fruitful is a better word, campus ministry in a local church, but to see that multiplied beyond something that one staff person or one staff can lead or a small staff, how do you grow and multiply beyond that? And your answer to that, one of your multiple answers, which I thought was really insightful, was student-led enables us to multiply way beyond our staff capacity, student-led, not student-told. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think the first thing is students want to be a part of something. They want ownership in it. They're behind hashtags, they're behind challenges, all on the social media. So if you give them an opportunity to be invested in the ministry versus being told what to do when they come or told what to do when they lead, you're now creating lanes for them to thrive. You're empowering them to make decisions, and they're leading the ministry. You're just moving them in the right direction. So being a student-led ministry, although it may be messy at times, they're owning the process, they're loving what they're doing, and they're bought into it because now they're actually someone that has a say in what we do. So with us, everything we do involves students coming in and helping us make decisions. From the campus nights to the on-campus events to the evangelism outreaches, they're always giving input to what we do. So when we do their idea, they're like, hey, I had that idea. This is awesome. And they want to be more a part of what we're doing. And then other students see, wow, my opinion matters. I'm a part of this. I'm not just attending something where I'm hearing everything I have to do.
And Tom, when you talk about student-led, you immediately started talking about, you said it earlier, you said it now, bringing students around the table as you're making decisions regarding what to do with outreach or whatever the next thing that you're working on. And it's, unless people have a voice in that, they don't feel like they're leading anyway. And so I really appreciate that, the difference in just telling them what to do and really allowing real leadership to happen. Now, when you typically, or obviously, these students, middle school, high school, university, don't have the level of training that you do, or I do, or that any other full-time vocational campus missionary. There's a training gap, there's a maturity gap, there's a knowledge gap, there's a theological gap, there's a lot of gaps. So inevitably, there are mistakes.
100%.
And so what is your posture? And a lot of people, the reason they don't empower younger people, one, they forget they were younger and were totally empowered, but they don't want to deal with the mistakes. So talk to me about the mistakes. So you see a lot of misfires, and you see a lot of like, oh no, what were they thinking? So what's your posture toward that, and how do you respond, or how should someone respond when they're empowering students to lead other students? How do you handle misfires?
Yeah, so there's things, first of all, we overlook, and there's things we confront. We confront the things that could be detrimental to a person or detrimental to the ministry.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we've put these qualifications on elders and teachers and pastors, now on students that are doing ministry. Jesus didn't put those qualifications on people to go and talk about Jesus. Right. The woman at the well was sent to go into her city. You know, the guy with the legion of demons was sent to go into his city. So for us, we always tell our students, go and make a mess and we'll clean it up. Because that was the issue in my life. When I
remember, your first Bible study, it seemed like I remember a story.
Yeah, here it comes.
Pastor Shaddy has empowered you to some level teach the Bible, and then some parents who are actually somewhat mature Christians responded. What were you actually teaching?
So I came back, led my first student to the Lord. I was super excited. I went into Pastor Shaddy's office. I said, hey, I led so-and-so to the Lord. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. And he goes, Tom, do me a favor, open up your Bible. So I opened up the Bible to Genesis, where Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac. And I stopped and I said, oh, shoot, Pastor. And he said, what? I said, I told that student, as I was telling him the story, that Moses was Isaac's dad. And he said, I know, his dad called me. And I remember in that moment, I felt like a failure. But Pastor Shaddy looked at me and said, Tom, his dad didn't care about who you said that Isaac's dad was. His dad was thanking me that you led his son to Jesus. Wow. And he said, go make a mess and I'll clean it up.
So you've been making messes.
Still do, Pastor
You're probably
Steve.
cleaning up more than you're making at this point.
For sure.
Tom, one of the things we talked about was the idea of on-site. When we were talking about the components, the keys, and we were discussing earlier, if I saw the fruit of your ministry, what you and the team and Lake Mary Church and the Every Nation campus and all the different aspects of that ministry, and said, how did this happen? What should I do to see this happen? One of the things you brought up was on-site is don't wait for them to come to your church building. I hope everybody has a good church building, and we certainly hope they come to our church building. But you said, you were talking about the idea of going to them, and I brought up the idea of leaving the 99, going after the one, that kind of thing. Talk to us about that. What you mean when you talk about going to them versus trying to get them to come and show up.
Yeah, we always say that our job is to go out and make disciples, and Jesus builds the church. So for us, we are always on the campus. We are not trying to draw students to our ministry. That's a byproduct of discipleship.
But it happens though, because there are thousands of those students are coming to your events. Okay, so keep going. I don't want anybody to think that they don't ever actually show up at the church things.
They do, because that's part of discipleship. But for us, is we don't want a student to think they have to meet with us for an hour to do the one-to-one. They then have to come to a campus night. They then have to go to a life group. 3 days out of their week is now consumed. Yeah. We wait till Jesus becomes their Lord and they want to come. But we always go to where the lost is, and that's on the campuses. So we team up with the local high schools to run mentorship programs to mentor the students. We clean the schools. We have clubs on the schools. And even on the college campuses, we are always focused more on what can we do on the campuses versus what can we do at our building. Now, it's great for them to come and get fed, which they do, and we have many programs at the church for them to get connected, but our focus is always to go out there and reach them.
In going out there, we talked a lot, and you talk a lot about evangelism, about preaching the gospel and finding those lost students. And one of the things that, as the more I was listening to you, asking you questions and trying to sort through what might go in this book and what might go in another book when you finish this one. But one of the things, the key aspects that you kept talking about was relationships and building community and building a sense of church family and that whole relational side. And I was reading some of your initial draft of the book and about Pastor Shaddy coming to your gym where you were the manager and you were the head of this, how many was it, 10,000 members at your gym?
10,500.
10,500. And Shaddy said, you're now the pastor of the largest church as a brand new believer, saved 1 week. You're the pastor of the largest church in Lake Mary, 10,000 members. Not many were saved, but that was it. But it was so obvious, the relational aspect. And so what we were talking about earlier was it's about people, not programs. Can you elaborate on that in your own life, and as anyone watching this wants to build an effective, fruitful, growing, multiplying student ministry, what is the difference in people, not a program, and what is the difference in making it about people rather than just running a program?
Yeah, people is relationally driven. Program is trying to get them to come to something. So what Pastor Shaddy did for me, before I ever knew he was a pastor, he had talked to me for months. And he built a relationship.
And the way you talked, he knew you weren't a pastor, right?
Oh, no, yeah. He says if I said 5 words, 3 of them were F-bombs. I don't know about that, but it was pretty close. But when his cover was blown, I was quite surprised.
So how long was it before you figured out he was a pastor?
About 4 months into it, because he brought someone into the gym with him, and the guy said, "Thanks, Pastor," when I gave him a free day. And I was like, oh no. But it was the relationship he built made me look at pastors differently from that one experience. Yeah. So for us, we always say anything short of sin to reach a student. And what that means is we go in their areas, we engage in their areas, we have fun in their areas. We take students we're discipling and we show them family, we show them community. Yeah. It's not just a 1-hour meeting and then they're done. It's doing life with them. And a lot of our students actually tell me they've grown the most in their life by being around my family or being around other missionaries' families. So we really always make sure one of the main focuses that we are building relationally with our students so they have a spiritual family, because a lot of students don't have the greatest families anymore. So we get to provide something for them that they get to be a part of, and they thrive, and then they know how to be the mothers and the fathers in their future.
Tom, I appreciate, all that you're doing to reach students, to reach the next generation. Really grateful for your ministry, your life. It's been a joy working on this book. I can't wait to see the finished product, which is probably a year away, maybe a little longer than a year away at the way you're going to chisel away at it, but I think it's going to help us. And before we go, I'm going to give you the final word. What would you like to say to the campus missionaries, the student leaders, and the pastors who are watching this, who all together want to have an impact on the next generation?
Well, thank you, Pastor Steve. You're amazing. I'm so thankful for you. And I would just say that there's a harvest out there. Students are waiting. We just have to go out and get them. The gospel always changed lives. It's still changing lives. And the more students we mobilize, the bigger impact we can have. So have a simple approach, but start in middle school, because in middle school they hear it, in high school they apply it, and in college they live it.